Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC-Mura here, and in today's video we are gonna be talking about how you can use Laura in this season of Street Fighter 5. So let us get started. Laura is a mix-up character, and her mix-ups comes in all forms. She have a low overhead mix-up, she have a command grab so she can play the strike or throw mix-up, and after the EX thunderclap you can air reset your opponent here and go for a right-left mix-up. So her mix-up game once she is point blank is very powerful. One of the highlights of the character is that she does have 1025 HP. This is the average for a character in Street Fighter 5, but it is above average for a female in Street Fighter 5. But having good HP means that she can take some risks. Obviously you want to be point blank in your opponent's face to run your powerful offense, but having more HP means you can take more risks like jumps, dash, YOLO overhead, EX armor, etc. So that is pretty nice. Another thing about her is her general mobility. Her walk speed in regards to the entire roster is not that good, but for a grappler it's actually not bad, and her dashes both forward and backwards are fine, and the command dashes are also pretty good overall. So her mobility for her archetype I will say is pretty nice. She also have consistent anti-airs, and that is good, you love to hear that. The standing medium punch is a pretty reliable anti-air, will anti-air even directly above your head, but will not anti-air cross-ups. She also has the heavy punch bolt, which leads to good amount of damage and stun, so that is also pretty nice. And one of the best and absolute highlights of Laura is her ridiculous and quite stupid stun output, to be honest. Let's say for example that you are about to stun Ryu. This is like a typical stun combo, and as you can see this was like 481 damage meterless. This is absolutely crazy high. And finally, one of her best and absolute strongest highlights is her ability to mount comebacks in V-Trigger. Let's say for example you do a sequence like that one. Right, this is gonna be an easy stun and pretty much a GG's at this point, right? As you can see, this was not even optimal, but you can see how much damage and stun we were able to land in almost an instant. It is absolutely fantastic. And finally, she does have some anti-fireball options, like for example the EX bolts. This have one hit of armor, so you can use that against fireballs. You do have to react quite fast, but it is an option. And she does have the EX command grab, which can work from the mid-range against fireballs. So there is some options. They are not fantastic, but at least there are some options. Now, what are the downsides to Laura? What are her issues? The first one is that she is kinda stubby. Her normals do have a little bit of short range, especially with her slowish compared to the rest of the cast walk speed. I know I said that her walk speed for her archetype is alright, but compared to the rest of the cast, if you're gonna be fighting against characters like Cammy or Karen or Urien, characters who have long range and fast walk speeds, it can be difficult. Another thing is her lack of defensive option. She does have a 3 frame, so it's not too bad, and she does have the EX armor, but this is very punishable on block. And her 3 frame, it's good to have, but it doesn't solve the fact that you will have to hold some pressure. And she does have a good V reversal, but obviously Laura kinda have to rely on her V trigger for comebacks, so you don't want to burn through your V reversals that quickly. So she is certainly susceptible to getting rushed down herself, and she does struggle versus heavy zoning. If you're gonna fight against characters like Ryu or Sagat or Guile, you're gonna have a bad time. Overall, Laura, in my opinion, is probably the most powerful character in Street Fighter V when it comes to mix-up. If you enjoy mix-ups, if you enjoy making your opponent guess and having strong reads that leads to massive damage, Laura is certainly the character for you. So as we always do, we're gonna start talking about the character normals and obviously gonna start with the lights. And the first one is the standing light punch. This is Laura's 3-frame attack. Again, a 3-frame is the fastest a normal can be, and having a 3-frame is a decent defensive option. Let's for example say that Ryu is gonna do this block sequence. Standing light punch is the normal that you wanna use there to interrupt your opponent, right? It is pretty good for that. The thing about this is that it counter hit combos into the crouching medium punch, but as you can see, depending on the sequence, the crouching medium punch might whiff. So maybe in something like that you wanna do jab into light punch bolt, and this will be your shake. So it is a good interruption tool, but as you saw, because it combos only into the crouching medium on a counter hit, it is not that fantastic. And then let's talk about its other offensive capabilities, because it is quite interesting. What you will find is that this attack will combo into itself, right? So you can do 2 of them and then combo into light punch bolt or combo into EX bolt, right? This is typically gonna be the way to go. You cannot really combo out of it into her other lights, and that kinda makes it limited because you kinda have to do this only, but that's fine, right? And you can also use it to throw your opponent afterwards, but you have to be careful because like you saw, if Ryu jabbed with his 3-frame, he will interrupt. This attack is only +1 on block. A throw is 5 frames, so this is a 4-frame gap. So you can use it, then throw your opponent if they don't have a 3-frame. If they have a 3-frame, like you just seen, you will get interrupted, right? You cannot jab and then throw them after. So for this to work, you kinda have to use another normal. Obviously she has the standing light kick, we will get to that later, but the standing jab, the best option here is to do it into itself, right? Like jab into jab. This will be a 3-frame, a mesh 3-frame, and then you can get like a crouching medium punch conversion because the second one is gonna be a counter hit, right? So that is pretty nice. It is a good attack overall. It's good to have a 3-frame, but its offensive capabilities is kinda limited. It's not the best, and because of that, it is good, but it is not the go-to option to start your pressure, right? The other one is the crouching light punch, and crouching light punch is very interesting in good ways and in bad ways. The thing about the crouching light punch is that it doesn't leave you in throw range. As you can see, it is +2, but you can't throw your opponent afterward, but you can command grab your opponent afterward, right? So you are in range to command grab, but you're not in range to regular grab. So that makes it a little bit weaker, but it is +2 on hit or +2 on block, so you get to frame trap with it into better options. For example, you get to do stuff like that with it, which is ultimately a better frame trap, but again, I wouldn't actually recommend starting your pressure with the crouching light punch. There is a better option, and I will get to that later. But just know that it combos into itself, and it combos into her other lights. So it is +4, so you can do it and then combo into standing light kick. This is gonna be your main combo route pretty much, right? Either do them into itself and then light punch elbow, or crouching light punch into standing light kick into the light punch elbow. This is the star of the show, by the way, we will get to it later, but it is pretty important. The other one is the crouching light kick, and this crouching light kick is very unique and very interesting. As you can see, it is +2. It chains into the crouching light punch, so you can get something like this, right? And then combo into the light elbow, crouching light kick, crouching light punch, into light punch elbow, or the EX elbow. These are some good conversions, but what stands out about the crouching light kick so much is its ability to actually cancel. It's a cancelable special attack. And because it's cancelable, you get to do it and then cancel into her V-Skill 1 command dash. So you can do stuff like that and then dash forward, or maybe do something like this, right? So it can be used offensively in that regard, and it does actually have good range. As you can see, it does have good range, and you can use it and then do a light punch bolt, as you can see. And on some traits like this one, as you can see, Laura was plus 17, right? So you get the combo after. So it does have some very unique and interesting functionality. Of course, it does leave you in a range to throw your opponent on block. So you can use it to throw your opponent after, but again, it is 0 on block. So if your opponent is mashing his 3 frame, you will 100% get hit. So it does actually kinda, it's not like the best defense, it's not the first move to use. I would use it somewhere like that, right? Like on the second hit, or if your opponent, for example, is trying to do something, let's say that they are blocking, then you're interrupted, maybe that's pretty cool. As you can see, the interruption is much in your favor here. So it is pretty good attack, it's a decent low shake, it is special cancelable, you can cancel it into the command dash, and all of these are actually really good functionalities. Now, let's discuss the star of the show, Laura's best normal and one of the strongest normals in the game, and that is the standing light kick. This is an S tier normal. This standing light kick is the GOAT for Laura. This attack, as you can see, it is plus 3 on block and plus 4 on hit. First, let's talk about the on hit part. It is plus 4, right? So because it's plus 4, you can combo it into itself. It actually does have a good range for a light attack, right? So you can combo 2 of them into themselves and then into the light or the EX elbow. So that is pretty nice, right? Just having that option is nice. And there is a fantastic sequence that you wanna learn, and this is essential. Standing light kick, crouching light kick, crouching light punch. This combos, right? It's a fantastic combo, it's a fantastic hit confirm. You can stop your opponent from walking backwards. If Ryu try to mash here, let's say for example that Ryu is gonna try to interrupt, you're pretty much gonna beat his normal, so that is pretty excellent. And the beauty of it is that there are so many points where you can command grab your opponent. First of all, after one light kick, you can normal throw, so that is fantastic. After one light kick, you can command throw, so that's fantastic. After one light kick, let's say that Ryu is gonna mash his 3 frame, you can frame trap into the crouching light kick like we said, or the standing medium punch. So that is very powerful, right? So that is, again, that's also fantastic. One of the best things about it is that you can use the crouching light kick into, or standing light kick into crouching light kick, and then use the light kick command grab. You will have to micro walk a little bit for this one, but it is still essential, and you can do it fast enough that you can catch your opponent off guard with it, right? So in all regards, it's a fantastic block sequence, it's fantastic pressure normal. You get a ton of options on block, you get a ton of options on hit, you get a lot of sequences for a lot of opportunities for throws. But that's not all. This normal is also very good in the neutral and very good in footsies. Let's say that Ryu is gonna be doing a crouching medium kick like that. You will find that, as you can see, it's a fantastic buffer in the neutral. You can just buffer it into EX Bolt, and it will catch crouching medium kicks like Ryu's from a distance like that one, right? So that is awesome. If your opponent is jumping over you, right? Or let's say that Ryu is gonna jump over us, right? And he kinda missed his jump, right? So he's gonna jump over us. We walked under, so he missed his jump. You can use it to actually anti-air and then switch sides. So as you can see here, I'm gonna be using it to anti-air. It is a little bit tricky to do something like this, but it is possible. So let's keep it going, and we're gonna now talk about the medium attacks, and we're gonna start with the standing medium punch. And this is a pretty important normal for Laura, obviously. The main reason that this is important is that it is her primary anti-air. So if your opponent is jumping in on you, this is a pretty good anti-air, and it sets up a command grab or a grab in general or a strike mix-up. So after you land it like that, you can either pressure your opponent or go for the command grab. It will anti-air even directly above her head, but not behind her. And you kind of have to make this distinction. If your opponent is jumping over you as a cross hop, it will lose from certain angles. So make sure that you are anti-airing it if they are above your head or in front of you. And the standing medium punch is also a pretty good pressure normal. It is 6 frames and it is +3 on block, right? This is pretty nice. Let's say for example that Ryu is gonna mash his 3 frame. Because it's 6 frames, it is gonna frame trap from the standing light kick. So as you can see, this is gonna be a frame trap. So then you can counter hit. You're gonna be +6. This means that you get a crouching medium punch, right? And then you get a conversion like that. Or maybe you will hit confirm and complete the target combo, and then maybe follow up with a V-skill or follow up with the heavy punch bolt. Both of them are perfectly good options. And because this itself is 6 frames and +3, it means that it will frame trap into itself. So you can do 2 of them like that, and then you can hit confirm the second one into again the heavy punch bolt or the V-skill. You are unlikely to start your pressure with a standing medium punch. If you are close to your opponent and you want to start your pressure, always start with the light kick. And the main reason for this is, yes, you can frame trap with this into itself like you just seen, but again, 2 of them will whiff if your opponent doesn't do something, and you're outside of range for command grab, right? You can't command grab your opponent after it. And that makes it weaker overall. Obviously you can also frame trap with it into the crouching medium punch, so you don't have to do twice 2 of them in a row. But again, because you lose the threat of the command grab, it is always better to start your pressure with a light, and the light kick is the goal, right? So it's most likely gonna be the second normal in your block string or pressure sequence. Now let's talk about the crouching medium punch, and this is a pretty important normal for Laura, like I said before, because this is her 5 frames. So that's actually pretty nice. Because it's 5 frames, it means that you can use it in situations where you get to challenge and you're gonna combo into it on a counter hit out of 3 frame, right? So you're gonna be doing the standing light punch, which is gonna counter hit a lot, it's gonna be +5. Then you combo into the crouching medium punch, or for example, if you do the standing light kick, and then combo into the standing medium punch. So pretty much the main use of the crouching medium punch is gonna be the normal that when you get a counter hit, you combo into, right? So counter hit out of standing light kick, crouching medium punch, counter hit out of standing medium punch, crouching medium punch, counter hit out of a standing light punch, then you get the crouching medium punch. And then obviously you can hit confirm it and cancel into the medium punch bolt for a knockdown, or like an EX clap, or whatever you wanna do at that point, right? So it is a pretty important normal, and obviously it is itself is 5 frames and special cancelable, so it is perfectly valid to use it in frame traps. So you're gonna be doing stuff like that anyways, like standing medium into crouching medium punch into EX fireballs. It's gonna be one of these things that you are gonna be doing. So it is a pretty important normal for Laura, and I would actually recommend using it a lot. The upcoming one is a standing medium kick. This attack is very interesting, and it's pretty good for many reasons. It is gonna be one of your main footsies tool in a way. It have good range. As you can see, it does have good range, and on a regular hit, Laura is +4. So you can combo a light kick afterwards. So you can be walking back and forth, land one of them, combo a standing light kick. But the reason that this is good is if your opponent let's say that here that Ryu is like gonna walk forward, It's gonna be hard to get this to practice, but let's say for example that you are walking back and forth and you did it like that, and you happen to land it, you're gonna be +6, and because it's gonna be +6, you can get then to combo a crouching medium punch, so back and forth in the neutral, land one of them, then you hit confirm into the crouching medium punch. It's a medium normal with good range, leaves you at a good plus frames, and then you get to convert after. And you can even use it in pressure because there is a little bit of pushback to it. So let's say for example that Ryu is gonna gain mash 3 frame, right? Obviously can't do 2 of them into themselves, or like it's not, it doesn't seem like it's frame tight, but as you can see it actually kind of works, right? With a certain tempo you can get it to whiff punish his jab from a certain range. Point blank you don't really get to do that, but from the range where it's gonna be good, like the mid range here, it's actually not a bad idea to do this at all, right? So maybe from this range you can do something like this and get it going, right? So that is actually pretty nice. So overall it is a pretty good pressure normal, and it's a decent footsies normal. It is kind of finicky. You can use it and then cancel into V-skill, right? So there is some application for that. Let's say for example that again we're gonna be doing the same thing. You can go for sequence like that. It's not a bad idea, not the worst idea in the world. So again, it's gonna be one of her main neutral tools in my opinion, right? And one of your pressure tools from some distance. Now the final one is the crouching medium kick, and crouching medium kick is very important for Laura because you can cancel it into the light punch bolt. It is pretty good because you can catch your opponent walking backwards. So for example, many players love to walk out of pressure, and having an option to shake the opponents who are trying to walk out of pressure is actually very important, right? And it is hit confirmable actually, like you can hit confirm it into the medium light punch elbow. It is a little bit difficult, but it can be done, right? You can hit confirm it into the light punch elbow. But the thing about this is that the light punch elbow by itself is actually -2. So it is a safe check anyways, right? But you can always do this. And it is kinda safe anyway, so it's not a bad idea. From some range you can use it and then cancel into the light bolt. Let's say for example that Ryu is not gonna mash all the way. Right? You can do some stuff with it like that, right? Obviously, like you've seen, if Ryu is mashing, this can get interrupted, but it is an option. It is something that is there, right? It's very important to have a crouching medium kick that is cancelable in general in Street Fighter V. It used to low profile, but doesn't really anymore. So the low profile ability of it is gone, but the main functionality is gonna be shaking your opponent walking backwards. Obviously, again, if you happen to land the hit, you can like cancel into the V-skill 1 and then command dash, or obviously just hit confirm into the light punch elbow, and then you get your pressures from there. And now let's start to talk about Laura's heavy normals, and I'm gonna start with the standing heavy punch. Standing heavy punch for Laura is like your default. If you don't know what to do at any given moment, standing heavy punch is your best friend. It is that kind of normal that have really good reward, and you can just throw it out there, and if you happen to land it, great. If you happen to get it blocked, you know, no worries, it's safe anyways. It is -2 on block, so it's totally safe, and it is special cancelable, so you can always do it and then cancel into the EX Thunderclap. And if your opponent try to mash afterwards or take back their turn, they get frame trapped by the Thunderclap, and if they happen to block and not try to interrupt, you are gonna be +3 anyways, so maybe then you can go for a command grab. Let's say for example that you landed it and you got a counter hit. You can combo 2 of them into the medium punch elbow into a knockdown. if you happen to land it and you got the hit confirm, you can cancel into the medium punch clap and then into another one, and then you get your knockdown. Let's say that you landed it normally and you didn't cancel into the EX fireball. As you can see, you're gonna be +4, so you can do a light kick into the light punch elbow or obviously the EX elbow, right? And get the knockdown. So it is a very good normal overall. It's just one of these moves that you can throw out there if you want to pressure your opponent. And maybe sometimes you will cancel into the light punch or the EX clap. Maybe sometimes you will not. You know, it is that kind of normal that will he do it, will he not do it kind of thing. So it is a pretty good normal overall. And as you can see, it's also a crush counter. So if your opponent whiffs an uppercut or something, this is a pretty good punish, right? Like this was almost like 300 damage, 1 bar reset normal. If your opponent happened to got hit by a crush counter, I would actually recommend using it instead of the standing heavy kick. You do get really good damage out of it in my opinion. This combo is sick and you get some really good resets here. Obviously you can do something like that which deals almost the same amount of damage, but this is building you a little bit more meter and you still get a really good mix. Now the next one is the crouching heavy punch, and crouching heavy punch for Laura is pretty important in my opinion for many reasons. This is one of her main footsies tool. Again, the main neutral tool with Laura are gonna be the standing light kick, the standing medium kick, kind of the standing heavy punch, and the crouching heavy punch. This is the normal that you're gonna do to catch your opponent whiffing something. So let's again say that Ryu is gonna be doing his crouching medium kick, right? See this, it will beat it a lot. So from a range like that, you can get a conversion like that. It's one of the normals that you can just use and buffer. And if your opponent whiffed something, you can just get the cancel. And I'm gonna show you the inputs now, so at least you see what I'm doing. See my inputs, I'm doing the crouching heavy punch and then buffering into the medium punch elbow. If I happen to land it, as you can see, it's gonna come out. If I don't land it, nothing comes out, right? This is what we call a buffer, so it's a fantastic neutral buffer. And you then cancel into the medium punch elbow, get the knockdown as you see, and this is a really good knockdown. You get to follow up on your pressure from there. This is the main use of the crouching heavy punch. Obviously you can use it in combos. It deals a lot of damage and it leaves Laura at a close distance. So it can be used a lot in like V-trigger activation. Like let's say you do something like this, you can do the standing heavy punch or the crouching heavy punch. And the crouching heavy punch, as you can see, this does 90 damage. The standing heavy does 80. So if say you got like a V-trigger activation or like a guaranteed combo, like let's say you did something like this, it's always better to follow with the crouching heavy punch just for the little bit more added damage. So if you're doing like a jumping combo like that, crouching heavy punch is better to use than the standing heavy punch, just to squeeze in that little bit more damage out of it. So it's gonna be used for maximum damage combos, it's gonna be used in the neutral, and it's mostly gonna be used to whiff punish and bait something. Obviously it does have some recovery, so you can't spam it 24/7, but it is for the most part a good high reward with punish or buffer. And next we're gonna talk about the standing heavy kick, and this is a very traditional standing heavy kick style attack. Again, the main functionality is gonna be using it in the neutral to beat attack like Ryu's crouching medium kick, right? It's gonna be used a lot to beat stuff like that. It is good because it's a crush counter, and if you happen to land the crush counter, let's say you land the crush counter like that, you're gonna be plus 16. So if from even far range, you can just straight out combo into the medium punch elbow or the EX if you want and get a cool knockdown. It's pretty much like your neutral mid-range crush counter attack. And it can be used a lot in maximum damage combos. Like let's say for example that we got a stun. Like we showed earlier, let's say that we got stun attack here. right? It's gonna be used a little bit in these, in these applications, because it does deal a good amount of damage. As you can see, it does 90 damage. Of course, it's not cancelable, but because it does 90 damage, and that is pretty good for a heavy, you're gonna be using it in your stun combos and your maximum damage combos, right? Other than that, it is pretty much a strictly neutral based footsies tool. Again, if you happen to land the crush counter punish, like let's say that you are getting a crush counter, I would recommend crushing with the standing heavy punch, because this is a better combo and you get more meter building, in my opinion, right? And next we're gonna talk about the sweep, and the sweep is a pretty much a standard sweep. It doesn't like, the range is fine and the speed is fine. It's not something that you're gonna be using that much, but you can use it after an EX Thunderclap, right? So it does again 90 damage and 150 stun. So maybe you want to use it in situations like these, but not really, because you can always substitute for a standing heavy kick anyways, or like even a crouching heavy punch, right? So it's not that fantastic. It is pretty much a standard sweep. In all honesty, it's not even that fast to use for a wave punish. It has about the same range as the crouching medium kick, a little bit more, but it is not, like, Laura doesn't have a particularly good sweep. It's just a very middle of the road sweep, right? Nothing that fancy. And finally we have the forward heavy punch. And this one is pretty important for Laura for many reasons. This is an attack that is hard to combo into until you're doing, or except if you're doing like the stun combos. Like, this is gonna be the main ways you get to combo into this attack. Otherwise, it is actually pretty difficult to combo into it. But this attack is important for V-trigger activation, it is important for footsies, and it is important for knockdown setups. Let's say, for example, that we are in the neutral, you do one forward heavy punch. Just that by itself is gonna be +4, right? It does have good range for a heavy. As you can see, the range is actually pretty nice. So then you can combo a light punch or light kick into the light punch elbow or the EX elbow, right? So you can use it in the neutral like that. You can even hit confirm it into the second hit and then combo into the heavy punch bolt. So that is pretty nice. In the corner, you get an EX fireball first. So that is pretty good. And it's gonna be really good for V-trigger activations as well, right? So you can do something like this. V-trigger activate P+3, or just the one hit and P+6. Obviously, I do think +3 is the better number, because it leaves you in the perfect frames for a command grab, right? So that is a pretty useful V-trigger activation. And you're gonna use it a lot in knockdown situations after throws. So let's say, for example, that you got to throw down your opponent, right? Let's say that Ryu is gonna wake up with a jab here, right? Let's say you got a normal throw. After a dash, Laura is gonna be negative, right? Laura is gonna be -2. And this is kind of whack, because you cannot kind of follow up with your pressure like you would, right? Like you kind of want to dash up, maybe command grab or something, but you don't really get to do that. But you actually get to do the forward heavy punch here, right? And as you can see, it is gonna meaty in this instant. You're gonna be +6, which means that you get a crouching medium punch, right? So you're gonna be using it as a meaty in this instance. And let's say, for example, that opponent will block. Ryu is not gonna be waking up with the 3 frame, and he's gonna just block. And in situations like this, again, you are still -2, you're still completely safe, so that's not bad, right? You can also use the same technique after a back throw, right? It's gonna be the same exact thing. You're gonna be doing it. Again, it's gonna hit as a counter hit, and you will get to follow up with the crouching medium punch. So it can be used as a meaty in both of these instances. You can also use it as a meaty after the heavy punch elbow, right? So after this elbow, again on a dash, you are neutral, but you are +17, so you can meaty with it in this instant. Again, gonna be +6, and you get to counter hit combo into the crouching medium punch, and then keep it going from there, right? So that is primarily the main applications for it. So you can use it in footsies, you can use it to activate V-trigger, and obviously you can use it as a meaty after throws and after certain Oki situations. Now let's then move up to the important air normals and the V skills, and the two of the most important air normals are gonna be the jumping light kick and the jumping medium kick. Both of these attacks are cross-up attacks. Your opponent have to block in the opposite direction, and both of them are good. After the light, you're typically gonna be in, you're gonna be in a situation where you have to combo into light attacks. But after the medium kick, you are gonna be at enough frames to combo into standing heavy punch most of the time, right? So most of the time, you're gonna be doing something like this. The thing about this is that the light kick is more ambiguous in my opinion. So for example, a jump like that one, which side did you block on, right? Can be hard to tell. So the light kick one is harder to react to, it's harder to block correctly, but it is less rewarding. However, because this is a light attack, it have less block stun, which means that you can take into a command grab after it. So I'm gonna do the jumping light attack and immediately going for a command grab, right? And if my opponent happened to block, hey, they just got command grab, right? So that is pretty nice. If you're trying to do that after the jumping medium kick, the grab will whiff. You will have to delay your command grab or delay your grab in general, right? So this is a good application for the jumping light kick. Another good jumping normal is the jumping heavy punch. This is gonna be the attack you're mostly gonna be using if you're gonna jump forward at your opponent. Jumping medium kick is actually good for jumping forward as well. It does have good horizontal range, so you can use it in situations like these. But mostly if you just wanna use like a heavy jumping normal, jumping heavy punch is gonna be your best friend. Another notable normal is the jumping medium punch, and this is gonna be used for anti-airs. Let's say for example that Ken is gonna be jumping in on us. As you can see, the standing medium punch will whiff from this angle, but jump back medium punch will work, right? It's gonna be really good to use. If you want to anti-air cross-ups like this, it is good to use in this instance. Now let's then shift gears to the V skills, and Laura have two V skills. One that is very amazing and another one that is pretty good. And because V skill 1 is so essential to Laura, I would actually highly recommend just running V skill 1 and honestly V trigger 1. V skill 1, V trigger 1 is the way to play Laura. It is what brings the entire character together. V skill 2 is not bad at all, but V skill 1 is so essential. So let's start first by talking about what V skill 1 does. V skill 1 is pretty important for Laura because it allows her a whole new lot of options. The first one is, if you first tap forward and V skill, Laura is gonna do this command dash. We said that Laura have okay mobility, but the forward dash here is actually pretty good because let's say if you are full screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4 dashes to cover it to the opponent, while 3 command dashes to get to your opponent. So you're crossing the screen faster, right? And this is also very powerful because you can cancel into it on hit or on block if your opponent out of your normals. So out of all of your cancelable normals and the standing medium kick, you can cancel into the V skill dash. This is pretty good because this allows you to do stuff like that, like for example, double of normals into like a dash, crouching medium kick into a dash, or like standing medium kick into a dash, etc. You're almost always gonna be negative. On block you are always negative, right? On block here you are always negative. As you can see, on block you are always gonna be negative after a dash. But the idea is you are doing something that is really fast and your opponent have to react really quickly. It is hard to react to something like that, right? If you're constantly doing this, it is very hard for your opponent to react to it, and that is the deal pretty much, right? They're gonna be scared of the command grab. They are scared of you canceling into the EX fireball. So then you get to dash up and command grab them, and that is very very powerful. Another thing is if you tap backwards and V skill, Laura's gonna do a back dash, and if you actually press V skill afterwards, she's gonna back dash into forward dash, right? And this is very powerful because you can do, say you got your opponent in the corner, you can do a sequence like that, just back dash, see what they're gonna try to do, and maybe then they're gonna jump or something, and then you get to anti-air. So it allows Laura to move in and out quickly, right? It allows her and it gives her a really good form of mobility, which is very important. Another aspect of this that's actually very very important is the fact that you can use it in combos after the EX Thunderclap or the EX Fireball to air reset the opponent. So for example, after the EX Thunderclap, you can do any normal, right? And that normal will air reset the opponent. If this normal is cancelable into V-Skill, you can then V-Skill cancel and side switch or not. Like for example, we are doing heavy punch into EX Thunderclap, medium kick, and then forward dash. And as you can see, we were +5. Maybe we're gonna do the same exact sequence, but then cancel from a standing heavy punch, and as you can see, we were +3. So it is actually very important, and side switching this 50-50 right left mix up is very important for Laura, right? Because it allows you to get into situations like this. Maybe this time you will go for the grab, maybe the other time you will go into this sequence, right? Maybe the next time you will just stay in the front and go for a regular grab. Maybe you will go for the back, right? Maybe you will go for the overhead even. Like you can even do stuff like that, like say, and V-trigger you can get this the overhead to connect in certain situations. So it is actually very important to just keep mixing it up. It opens a whole new level of mix-ups for Laura that is typically not available. And the one thing you just seen is if you hold the V-trigger or if you hold the V-skill, Laura does an overhead. This is an overhead attack, and it leaves her at a +2, which means that she gets to frame trap with the standing light kick, or again go for a grab or a command grab. So that is very very powerful. And this is actually pretty good because let's say for example that Ken is gonna try to backdash on wake up, right? So he got grabbed and or he got hit and he's gonna try to backdash on wake up. Right? This is a crush counter. And in a situation like that, let's say we got him, right? You can maybe then try to follow up on your pressure. So being a crush counter in itself is good. It have good range. As you can see, it's an overhead with a good range. You can cancel into it from the back step or the forward dash. So like look, from this range, you can check out your opponent like that. And this opens a ton of mix-ups in V-Trigger 1. Like let's say we have V-Trigger 1 on. This is when this stuff gets really really cheap. Like let's say your opponent is blocking everything, right? You can do the EX Fireball, cancel into the forward dash, and as you can see, Laura is +4. You're still at a plus advantage. So maybe then you can do something like this, go for the grab. Let's say that you landed a hit. Like let's say that this landed as a hit. You can still keep going with it, you can still keep going with the hit. One thing I kinda have to mention is if you hold forward and V-skill a little bit, not all the way. If you hold it all the way, she's gonna do an overhead, but if you hold it forward a little bit, Laura is gonna move a little bit more forward, right? This is important because say after a sequence like that, you have to hold forward to get the crouching light kick or the standing. You have to hold it forward to get this to combo. If I just tap forward, say we're gonna do this, the crouching light punch will whiff. But if I hold forward, I will get it to connect and then you get to follow up, right? So it is important to know that. You want to hold it forward a little bit to move the most distance to your opponent, but not all the way. And like we said earlier with the V-trigger, You can do a ton of stuff here. Let's say for example you landed a hit like that. Go for the overhead is gonna be meaty. +7, so you get to follow up even more. In V-trigger, the overhead is gonna be +4 on hit, which means that you get to combo a light kick after it, right? This is a combo in V-trigger. So it opens a whole slew of doors and a whole slew of options for Laura. Honestly, Laura will not be Laura if you don't have this V-skill, in my opinion. Now, V-skill 2 is not a bad V-skill. When you press it, Laura is gonna do this command jump. And it's not bad at all. If you press kick, she's gonna do the axe kick like this. And this axe kick is safe on block. It is -2. And on hit, as you saw, she is gonna be +3. So you actually get to combo into standing light punch and do the light punch elbow. This in itself is not bad, right? It's not bad at all. And if you happen to press punch, Laura is gonna do a fireball. And obviously depending on the level, the speed of the fireball is gonna differ. This is the light, this is the medium, and this is the heavy, right? And if you hold the punch button, Laura is gonna hold the fireball as well, just like the regular thunderclap, right? So it is pretty good in this regards. One of the things about this is that you can have 2 fireballs on the screen at the same time. So you can have a regular fireball. Let's say that you can have a regular thunderclap and a V-trigger thunderclap, giving you a good amount of screen control, right? So maybe something like this along with this, and it will allow you to close the distance to your opponent. You can even get the fireball to be plus in certain instances, right? So maybe from a range like that, you will dash up and be +5, so you got some ground. But the main applications that you will want to use for this one is after the EX Fireball. So after the EX Fireball, here Ken is kinda of in a juggle state, so you can actually follow up with the V skill, right? Maybe then you do the kick and get a good knockdown, right? This is not a bad knockdown. Or you can follow up with it after the forward heavy punch target combo, right? And get a follow up like that, and that actually leads to good Oki. So there are some combos and there are some opportunities where you get this to work. However, the issue is that you lose the mix up and the air reset, right? So you get some cool knockdowns, but the reset and the pressure of being able to close the distance and all of that is lost. However, something that's actually pretty nice is, let's say that you happen to do something like this, and you got the counter hit. Laura's gonna be +5, so you get to follow up with situations like this. Again, this is not a bad V skill, it does have some dips, it is pretty decent actually. And you can use it to hop over fireballs from certain ranges. Like let's say that Ken is gonna throw a fireball at us. Right? You can use it like that from certain ranges to go over fireball, but as you can see, it does have some timing to it and you kinda have to do it preemptively in a way. So again, it is kind of an anti-fireball option, but it's not an amazing one. You can use it to bait anti-airs, so let's say you knock him down, they see you jumping, they will try to anti-air with the Shoryuken, then you do the fireball. So these applications are nice, but I just think that V-Skill 1 is so much better and offer Laura so much more that it's really hard to let go. So let's then quickly talk about Laura's special attacks, and she doesn't have many, but they are all very vital. The first one is the Bolt Special, the light, the medium, and the heavy. Typically, the heavy one you will only be able to combo into it in juggles and as an anti-air. It doesn't hit grounded opponents, but let's say after this target combo, you can combo into it, or after the forward heavy punch target combo, you can combo into it, and after an EX Fireball, especially in the corner here, you can combo into it, right? So this is the juggle attack and obviously an anti-air. The light punch elbow combos from everything almost. So jab into light, light punch, mediums into light, etc, 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 and it is safe on block. So if your opponent happen to block here, this will combo on hit, and as you can see, -2 on block, so you're totally safe. And the light punch elbow actually sets up a fantastic situation because Laura is gonna be +2 and in throw range. This means that after it, you can throw your opponent, right? You can shimmy them. You can go for a command grab. Or you can just repeat it again. And let's say here that Bison is gonna try to jump, right? As you can see, if you can kinda keep looping it and he can jump out of this. He kinda have to hold it, which is very good. Another option out of it is simply throwing. We said that you can normally throw your opponent. And if they are holding up because they're expecting the command grab, you can still anti-air them, right? So that is very, very powerful. Let's say that Bison is gonna try to back jump, right? Bison is gonna try to jump backwards. Obviously, if he's trying to jump backwards, you can't anti-air with normals and you can't anti-air with the heavy punch bolt, but you can anti-air with the EX in this instant. As you can see, the EX will chase him and that is gonna, it's gonna catch them. Then you can juggle a light punch. Bolt as this instant and keep it going. So the situation after the light punch bolt is fantastic. And another really cool thing, and this one is awesome, is that you can crouching light kick, crouching light punch also. So if they are trying to walk back, here they can't even walk backwards, right? They have to take it, which is very powerful. You'll see this with Laura a lot, right? It's one of her main highlights and one of her main pressure strings. Now, next up, we're gonna talk about the medium punch bolt. And the medium punch bolt is important. If you just press it with no follow-ups whatsoever, you're gonna be +2, and it's kind of the same thing as this one. You can then maybe throw or command grab, or go for whatever you want. But one of the things about it is there are follow-ups to it. If you press punch, Laura is gonna do this follow-up attack. It's gonna do a little bit more damage and she's gonna switch sides. If you press kick, Laura is gonna remain on the same side, and both of them leave you at a +18 advantage. And this number is significant because Laura have a 17 frame dash. So this means that let's say you got a combo like this one, after a dash you're gonna be +1. So we said that standing light kick is our best pressure tool, right? It's the best option to start our pressure with. So if we do this, dash up standing light kick, we're gonna trade with Bison here, right? You're gonna trade. This one is not that fantastic, but you can pressure with the standing light punch, right? And as you can see, it's gonna be a counter hit, then you're gonna get a crouching medium punch to combo, and this means that you get to follow up into another medium elbow and keep it going from there. There are many other alternatives you can do after this. You can also delay a forward heavy punch. This is kind of a manual time thing. It will take some practice. As you can see, you're gonna be +7, which means that you get a crouching heavy punch as this instant, but this does require some timing. And one of the things about this, and one of the best thing about it, is that you can use the EX elbow. And the EX elbow is like an armored version of the medium one. And the good thing about it is after the follow-ups and a dash, you're gonna be +2. So at a +2, you do get a standing light kick. So here, if we do the EX one, we were able to do the standing light kick, and it was able to beat his meaty, straight out beat his meaty. So if your opponent has 3 frame, dash up standing light punch, or manual time forward heavy punch, if you combo from an EX bolt, you can actually get a +2 after a dash, and then start your pressure with a standing light kick. The EX also combos from light attacks. So as you can see, you can kinda keep moving it like that, right? So that is very, very nice. Now let's talk about the EX one because it is important and it does have 1 hit of armor. So let's say Bison is gonna be doing something like this. Right, you can armor through and just immediately go on the offense here. So it is pretty good to use in the neutral like that. if you can react to your opponent throwing out something. And you get good Oki situation here. And finally, we're gonna talk about the Heavy Punch Bolt, because this one is kinda unique as well. The Heavy Punch Bolt leaves you in a very interesting situation. After you do it, Laura is gonna be plus 17. So you are neutral after a dash, right? If you do your 3 frame, you will trade with Bison here. So that is not fantastic. However, after the Heavy Punch Bolt, what you wanna do is you wanna do the forward Heavy Punch, right? You're gonna be plus 6, so that means that you get to combo whatever you want here. So let's do it one more time. If timed right, you can get this to follow up, and that's pretty nice, right? So it doesn't leave you in like the best Oki situation, but it does good damage, and the knockdown is still pretty good, and you can kinda still cheese with it, you know? Like for example, let's say that you landed it. Doesn't mean that you can't, for example, dash up or command grab, or like still even just go for an EX command grab. You kinda have to delay this one. You can do it right away. But the mix-up is still there, and obviously you can also just light punch elbow if you want. Elbow specials in general are very important for the character. Now the next special is gonna be the command grab. And Laura have 3 command grabs, 4 obviously if you count the EX. There is the light, medium, and heavy versions, and all of them are pretty good in their own ways. The medium and the heavy versions, these are kinda similar. Both of them have 5 frame startup, and both of them are, you wanna use them in close range, right? So let's say for example the Bison here is gonna be blocking, and he's gonna try to mesh his standing light kick. You can take, if you're plus 2, you can always take throw into the medium or the heavy one. The medium have a little bit more range but less damage. The heavy a little bit more range but less damage. Right? Obviously I kept fucking it up, but as you can see, both of them will work. The heavy is doing 190 while the medium is doing 170. So we're talking about 20 less damage. So if you are very close to your opponent, I would recommend going for the heavy. The light version is slower than these two, right? So if we're doing the same thing, as you can see, the light is slower. Even at a plus 3 advantage, you can't really take throw into the light. The light one is slow, but the way you wanna use the light one is at, well, from further distances. The light one have more range. So for example, let's say you do something like standing medium punch, right? Or like crouching medium punch. Or crouching medium kick, right? There are many situations where you can't combo into, or you can't take, or you can, the other one will not reach. So for example, after 2 jabs, right, the medium one will not reach, and the heavy one will not reach. But here, let's do it one more time, the light one will. So because the light have the most range, you're gonna be using it from the furthest ranges, right? If you are far away from your opponent, it is a little bit slower. It does give the same Oki situation, but it has the most range, right? So that's pretty much it. So think of them this way. Light has the most range, medium, little bit more range, but faster. Heavy is fast, does the most damage, but has the least range. And the EX command grab is very interesting because it actually have projectile invincibility. So let's say that Bison is gonna be doing his EX blast again. As you can see, the EX fireball, Laura is gonna do a kind of like a pseudo V-skill dash and then grab him afterwards. And the advantage after it is kinda different. Now let's talk about the situation after the command grab, because it is pretty important. There is a lot that you can do here, and it's very important to know what are your options. Laura does not really have a throw loop, so after a dash you are -3, right? If you try to dash up and throw your opponent again, you are -3. So what you can do here is either walk up into something, for example like a micro walk into standing heavy punch, that's an option. right? But you kind of have to micro walk and manually time this, right? It's not that easy. You kind of have to do it. Or maybe you're gonna have to hit a standing heavy kick. Again, this obviously will crush counter. Maybe you will go for a sweep. But again, you kinda will have to manually time this one. Right? Maybe you will go for a jump. And maybe you will go for a dash up command grab. Right? Maybe you will command grab and then dash up command grab again. And this is kind of the mix-up. You have multiple options. Most of them are not real. Like dashing up into another throw, that is not real, but it is an option. Like your opponent have to react super fast, and they kind of have to deal with it. One of the other options that you can do, and one of the most commonly used one, is using a light punch elbow here. Right after the command grab, you do a light punch elbow, and this is good because if you time it right, you're gonna counter hit them, you're gonna be +4, so then you get to do another one. Right? This is one of the main key follow-ups after the command grab. However, I have to say that there is timing to this. You're gonna have to manually time this. If I do it as fast as possible, it whiffs. So you have to delay it by a frame or two to get it to hit like that, right? And maybe you can get it to trade like that, and as you can see, you were +18. So then you get like trade combos. On block, let's say that Bison is not gonna do anything after the command grab. Again, if you do it right away, it whiffs. You're gonna have to manually time it. And depending on your timing, you can either whiff completely, you can be -1, you can be -2, but you can get it to neutral. So let me try to get it to land as a neutral one. Best case scenario, you land it and you're gonna be 0 on block, so then you follow up with a 3 frame. And obviously you can get a command grab after an EX1, so like you can use a regular one and then immediately EX command grab. Again, kinda gimmicky, your opponent can delay wake up and this will get ruined, or wake up with a button, but it is an option. The idea here is that it's not real Oki, but you can overwhelm your opponent with it, right? And that is pretty much the premise here, right? And so this is pretty fine. The final special is gonna be the fireballs. And Laura have, again, well, she's gonna have 6 different fireballs actually. There is the light version. The light kinda doesn't move anywhere. And then there is the medium, which moves a little bit, and the heavy, which actually moves a lot. And you can charge them, and when you charge them, they're gonna be multiple hits. So no uncharged fireball is a single hit. Multi-charged fireball is gonna be 3 hits. And this has so many applications. Let's say for example in pressure, you can do something like this. And then like grab your opponent or make him tick, right? You can do something like that. You can simply use it as a block string from this range. Again, this is gonna leave you plus. So from this same sequence, jab, jab, crouching medium punch, right? Or crouching medium kick. The light one will not reach. So then you can to grab. The medium one will reach, but it will leave you at a +17. Notice how plus this was? So this means that you can dash up or even just walk up and get to continue the pressure here, right? Or maybe you will do the heavy one, and this would leave you at a +7. So you get to use them in block sequences like these. You get to backdash, for example, here, use them like that, give yourself some distance. It's gonna be used a lot in situations that it's like covering your approach, right? You kind of have to experiment with this one. Here is like another sequence, for example, right? And from something like that, you maybe want to use then you're gonna move forward after this one, walk forward into a grab. This, for example, is like a perfectly valid sequence. You can use a EX here and get yourself some distance, etc, etc, etc. You see, you can kind of see how it is. Or you can just charge it in the neutral, walk behind it and use it as a shield to cover your approach and get close to your opponent, so then you can run your mix-ups. And there are 3 different EX versions depending on which one you did. the light punch and medium punch. This is like an EX version of the light. Pressing light and heavy is like an EX version of the medium, and pressing medium and heavy is an EX version of the heavy. And this goes full screen, as you can see, so you can absolutely use it to cover your approach. But the main use of the EX fireballs is gonna be in block strings, and it's gonna be in combos for resets. As you can see, any EX fireball will leave you at a +3 advantage, right? This means that, let's say again Bison is gonna try to mash. Let's hear him try to mash something, right? You get to counter hit him out of that, obviously, so that's pretty good. Or you can even command grab him, right? So you can go immediately into a command grab, or you can go immediately into a continued pressure. It's a good way to extend your pressure. So let's say, for example, that we are doing a pressure sequence like that one. If he tries to mash here, he gets hit. Right, your opponent cannot mash at this instant. It allows you to extend your proc if he is still blocking. Again, you get to follow up with it, etc, 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 right? And let's say that you landed a hit. After you land a hit, it is a very good situation, because let's say that you're in the corner, you can follow up with a heavy punch bolt for a good knockdown. Let's say that you are mid-screen, you can follow up with medium kick and then V-skill forward to cross up. You can follow up with heavy punch into V-skill forward, and depending on your timing, you can cross up or not. There are so many resets that you can do in this instant. For example, let's say another one after a crouching medium punch, or like standing medium punch. However, the most commonly one you're gonna use is the standing medium kick and the standing heavy punch. These are gonna be like the main one to use, right? These are fantastic normals, in all honesty, and one of the best things about it also is the fact that you can use the thunderclaps in maximum damage combos after stun. So let's say, for example, that we got a stun combo. You're gonna be doing this a lot, right? And as you can see, that can lead to massive damage, even if, say, we landed it after a right, and then you can follow them. So they are useful in the maximum damage combos, they are useful in pressure sequence, they are useful to cover your approach in the neutral as a block string. They are so useful. Honestly, the light punch or the fireballs in general are amazing tools for Laura. So let's now talk about Laura's V-triggers, and I'm gonna start first by V-trigger 1. And before I get into it, I just want to highlight the good activations for this V-trigger. Let's say, for example, that you want to activate on block. Forward heavy punch into heavy punch. This is actually one of the better ways to activate V-trigger. It leaves you at a good situation at a +3, and you are in command grab range. So that is pretty nice. Another one of the commonly used one is just forward heavy punch on hit. As you can see, you're gonna be +14. This is on a counter hit, so regular you're gonna be +12, but you still get to do all of the follow-ups that you will want. The best activation, in my opinion, is gonna be something into Fireball. This gives you a +17 advantage. So a Fireball activation means that you get to combo a forward heavy punch. So let's do it one more time. Right, forward heavy punch, you can combo into it from there, and this sets you up for some very good mix-ups. Now, another one that is really good is standing medium kick. For example, you are playing in the neutral, land the whiff punish, and then you go from there into your V-trigger craziness. So again, that's another one that's really good. And one of the most common ones you will see is actually on defense. Let's say that Ryu knocked you down. Right, you're gonna be seeing that a lot. This is actually probably the most commonly way that Laura gets to activate her V-trigger. In all honesty, this happens so much, but yeah. So activating from fireballs is pretty good, activating from the forward heavy punch is pretty good, and standing medium kick is pretty good. Any fireball is also really good. Now let's talk about what the actual V-trigger does. It's a 3 bars V-trigger, and as you can see, once you activate, the timer takes forever. So as you can see here, the timer is very long. The only thing that actually consumes this V gauge is if you happen to cancel a fireball into a V skill. So like fireball into an overhead, or like fireball into command dash. It's set up this way because this is what leads to mix-ups pretty much, right? And I will get into it in a second, but if you don't do that, the V-trigger lasts forever. Now, what does it actually do for Laura? The first thing is it enhances her V-skills. As you can see, the typical one from the round start range will go into just above the line, but if we activate, it goes directly over Ryu now, so it improves the distance a ton. The mobility is insane in V-trigger, as you can see. So you can be really fast zapping around the screen, so that's pretty good. It shortens the charge time for the fireballs, so that's actually really good. And the EX fireballs actually get even more hits. So regular V skill or regular EX fireball is 2 hits. V-trigger fireballs are 3 hits, right? And after that, regularly you don't get heavy punch bolt or heavy punch elbow. In V-trigger, you absolutely do. So this increases her damage output tremendously. Like for example, a simple combo like that one, it's 384 damage. Well, typically you don't actually get that to combo at all. Like mid-screen, you will pretty much be doing something like this, 276. So that added almost 100 more damage to her combos. That is very substantial. Another thing you will notice is that it just enhances her command grab damage as well. So the heavy command grab in general, 190, 200, right? In V-trigger, the command grab is doing 210, 230 damage, so you're doing a lot more damage and stun on your command grabs. Another thing that is very vital is the fact that you can cancel the fireballs into the command dash or into the V skills in general. This is substantial because this also enhances her damage by a lot. So for example, a typical meterless combo here is doing 114. In V-trigger, you're doing 250 damage. So you are getting even more damage out of any fireball conversion, right? And one of the highest and one of the best things about this is that the overhead is now +4 on hit. So after you land an overhead, you're +4, so you get to combo a light kick, maybe like something like I did, light kick into crouching light punch, into light punch elbow, so that is pretty good. And finally, and this actually is a very good one as well, she gets to super cancel the light punch elbow. So typically here, I can't combo the light punch elbow to super. In V-trigger, this is a combo as well, right? So it does a lot to enhance her damage and stun output in general. But the main reason that this V-trigger is so good is because of the mix-up potential, right? You can do so much out of this. Let's say, for example, that you activate, right? You're gonna do an EX fireball. There's so much that you can do here. You can maybe like dash crouching medium punch, and after the dash crouching medium punch, cancel into the overhead, and this is gonna be +7 on hit, right? Means that you get to combo a crouching heavy punch, and this deals a massive amount of damage. So as you can see, you can do something like this, right? Look at how much damage and stun that instantly built. And one of the strongest things about it is that you can combo into the V-trigger fireball, EX fireball, and then command dash. And this is very powerful because this allows you some new combo extensions, right? So let's say you do something like this. So this time I messed it up, but let's do it one more time. Right? Look at the damage output and the corner carry, it's absolutely fantastic. And just in this sequence, there are so many points for resets. Like let's say that you do something like I'm gonna show you now. Like your opponent is just gonna block after the first attack. right? And that was a right-left mix-up because Ryu blocked, I went with the heavy punch bolt, switched side, and then he had to block in the opposite direction. But let's say that you get to see this slower now, right? Maybe you can do something different. Maybe here you can do go into command grab, right? It's an option, and the command grab is doing enhanced damage and stun. There are other mix-ups, like for example, let's say that you get this activation. Let's get us to a little bit mid-screen here for this one. That's another one that's really powerful. Let's take a look at this one, for example. You activate. Right? As you can see, the possibilities are very endless, to be honest. There's so much that you can do here. I will be leaving an OK section at the end showing you some of the setups, but as you can see, it is very, very devastating. And just a simple combo here, like just a simple basic combo, doing something like this, right? Then you get a super cancel, and this is like a sort of burst damage that Laura doesn't typically get, right? And obviously, again, if you happen to land a stun, oh my god, they're gonna eat so much damage, it's ridiculous. But let's say we are doing a stun combo here. Right? Look at the damage output on a stun combo. It's absolutely crazy. That is almost like 700 damage on a stun combo. So this V-Trigger enhances Laura's potential offense by so much, the damage by so much, and the stun by so much. Honestly, it's a fantastic V-Trigger. It's a very set play heavy V-Trigger, and again, like I said, I'm gonna be leaving an OK section at the end showing you some of the mix-ups that you can use with this one. Now, the other V-Trigger is not that amazing in my opinion. Shock stance, it's this one. Laura is in a, think of it as a Cody sway, right? So she can do this sway, and then if you happen to press V skill, she will dash forward. And upon doing it again, Laura will cancel into this grab, which then give you some combo potential, right? So it is a kind of a defensive option. You can use it against your opponent block strings. Like let's say Ryu is gonna be doing some block string like the one I'm gonna show you now. Oh, let's not use this one, let's use this one. So let's say for example Ryu is gonna dash up into heavy kick, right? So you use this invincibility to kinda go through your opponent's attacks, right? And then you go for the grab and you get a follow-up from there. It's nothing that terrific. You can use it in some situation and be cute with it. Like as an example, let's say after a heavy punch bolt, right? Here after a dash, you can't really do much, right? You're gonna be at a 0 advantage. So maybe you get to trade, right? But you can use the V-Trigger here. Right? Just V-Triggers through his fireball or through his jab and then keep it going. But again, I don't think this is really necessary, and the comeback and damage potential of V-Trigger 1 is way too good to pass for this V-Trigger in my opinion. Now before I leave you with combos and Oki, I wanted to quickly highlight Laura's critical art. It is done by doing 2 fireball forward motions and kick. It is a dashing command grab, and it's actually pretty good because let's say for example your opponent is gonna be blocking. The range is actually quite nice. As you can see, it's actually really far, and if Laura is in the corner, the range can be actually quite ridiculous. So let's say that Karen is here, for example. Laura's back to the corner. You will see her launching alone. That's almost like half screen distance, right? So that's pretty cool, and it allows Laura to punish some stuff that she typically does not punish. Like let's say for example that Karen did something like this standing heavy kick, right? It is -4, Laura's out of range to punish with anything, but the critical art is 3 frame, so you do actually get a punish, right? That is one of the main applications for this critical art. Another thing for it that's actually pretty nice is that you can combo into it from all of the cancelable normals. So you can do something like, say, Heavy Punch. You can even link it out of Heavy Punch, by the way, because this is +4. So use it and then do a Critical Art and it's gonna combo. It is special cancelable or super cancelable out of Standing Heavy Kick. So maybe in the neutral like that, you land one Standing Heavy Kick and then hit confirm into Super. Right? That is not a bad option. But the issue with the Critical Art is that it doesn't combo from the Bolt specials, right? So if you're doing even the Light Bolt, you can't cancel into the Super. This is only applicable in V-Trigger. This limits the combo potential of it by a lot actually, because it is a lot harder to combo into it. Typically the Light Punch Bolt is your grounded combo ender. You can't combo into Fireballs from lights, right? This doesn't combo. So it limits its uses a lot. And another thing is the EX Fireball is such a vital tool to Laura that you will not have the resources or the meter to actually go for the Critical Art that much. But other than that, it is actually a pretty solid Critical Art. And like we showed earlier, if you're in V-Trigger and you have the meter and got a stun combo, for example, you can do some monster damage with it. And that is pretty much it for Laura. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon page and the Discord server page in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.